Welcome to my cozy corner of the internet. Finding time to read has been a challenge for me lately, and because of that, I've been really scared to commit to big books, especially as a slow reader. I read about 15 pages an hour if I'm annotating and like 20 to 25 pages an hour if I'm not. So as you can imagine, a 500-page book takes me a really long time to finish. If you're also like me, I've made a list of amazing books that you can probably read in a day. Now, if you're reading as slow as me, this will probably have to be a day where all you do is read and nothing else. I didn't want to go for super short 50-page books because personally, I'm not a really big fan of short books. I just feel like they're harder to relate to or care about. So instead, I picked books that are shorter but still have some substance. Books that are easy to read, engaging, and not too dense. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the list. Starting with one of my favorite books, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Now, since I moved to a different country, I don't have most of these books in physical copies. So I'll add pictures here. I think you can read this book and then watch the movie in the same day, which sounds like the perfect cozy plan. This book is written in the form of letters by a teenage boy named Charlie, and it's just one of those books that make you feel everything. It's heartfelt, raw, and I think it captures that tender, awkward phase of growing up so beautifully. Plus, the writing style is super simple, which makes it really easy to get lost in. It's 213 pages, which I know sounds like a lot, but I promise it's easily readable in a day. The language is super easy to understand, so even if you're not a native English speaker, but you're like a B1, you can understand everything in this book easily. And yeah, please read it. It's such a beautiful book. It's so good. And yeah, our second book is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This book has such a cozy yet bittersweet vibe. It's set in a little cozy cafe in Tokyo where people can time travel. But there's a catch: no matter what you do, you cannot change the past. It's a series of interconnected stories about love, regret, and closure. And even though the concept sounds a bit heavy, the writing feels super accessible. The chapters are like little vignettes, so it's easy to keep turning the pages. It is 213 pages, but I think the flow makes it feel shorter. For me, the only confusing part was the names. Since the book is Japanese, the characters obviously have Japanese names, so it took me a while to memorize them because I'm not used to reading lots of Japanese literature. So yeah, it took me a while to remember the characters' names, but other than that, it's a really easy read. Also, if you like this book, there are other books in the series. If I'm not mistaken, there are 5 books in total, and I think they're all around the same length. So if you're on vacation or something, you can try to read 1 book a day and try to finish the series in a week. I feel like that would be fun. And plus, I think the covers are absolutely adorable. Look at it. Oh, it matches with my little catto. It chooses to focus on my cat though, instead of the one in the cover. And this is the second book. I'm planning to buy the other books, but I still didn't read the second book, so I'm waiting to see if I like it as much as the first one. The next book I want to talk about is In the Dreamhouse. This one is a memoir and it's a really raw one. It's about the author's experience in an abusive relationship. She's telling the story in different literary styles, so almost like she's experimenting with the storytelling. Some chapters are just a paragraph long, which makes it easy to read in short bursts, but the emotional impact definitely stays with you for a long time. It's around 250 pages, but because of the fragmented style, it feels like a much shorter book. But yeah, while it's easy to read in terms of language, emotionally it's a tough read, so Get ready for that. Okay, now let's cheer up and talk about a super happy read, which is of course Heartstopper by Elise Osman. Honestly, if you're feeling like you're in a bit of a reading slump, this is the perfect pick. It's a graphic novel about two boys falling in love in the sweetest, most heartwarming way possible. The artwork is adorable and the dialogue feels so natural. It's the kind of story that makes you smile the entire time, and I mean literally the entire time. Plus, since it's a graphic novel, you'll get through it super quickly without even realizing it. And again, there are multiple volumes, so you can read the whole series in a week and then watch the Netflix show if you still haven't. It's also available to read online for free, so you can read it on your phone, on your iPad easily, which makes it all the more perfect. Next book I want to recommend, next book I want to recommend is The Catcher in the Rye? What? Why did I say it like that? Catcher in the Rye? Ryle? Who's Ryle? Ryle? I feel, oh, that's the guy from the Colin Hoover book, Ryle. Which book was it? That's the toxic guy. Catcher in the Rye. So this is a classic, but please don't let that scare you off. It's actually really easy to read and it is so fun, I think. The narrator, Holly Caulfield, has such a distinctive voice, and the book feels like he's just directly talking to you, ranting about life, people, and his general teenage angst. It's 214 pages, and once you get into Holden's head, it's hard to stop reading because you just want to see where his wandering takes him. Speaking of Salinger, I also have Franny and Zooey on this list. It's technically two interconnected stories and it's got that same sharp, introspective vibe as The Catcher in the Rye, but with a different focus. This one is more about existential questions, family dynamics, and the struggles of finding meaning in life. It never gets boring though, the dialogue keeps it moving and the characters are so compelling that you'll just be flipping pages. It's around 200 pages, so very doable in a day. Now for something a little magical, which is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I think his writing is like stepping into a dream. This book feels like a dark fairy tale filled with nostalgia and a bit of mystery. It's about childhood, memory, and the blurry line between fantasy and reality. The prose is simple, but it's so atmospheric that it pulls you right in. It's less than 200 pages, and I think it's the kind of book that you can read maybe even in one sitting instead of a day, because it's just that captivating. Of course, a list like this can't be completed without including The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. This book is technically a children's book, but I think it's really not. If you read it as a kid, I think it deserves to be reread now. It's packed with so much wisdom about life, love, and human nature that I think it hits much harder as an adult. The language is simple, but I think the ideas in it linger long after you finish reading it. It's 96 pages, so this one is definitely the easiest to read in a day, but don't rush it and let it sink in. And finally, we have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. It has such an eerie, atmospheric vibe, and it's perfect if you like a little dose of mystery and darkness in your cozy reading day. It would literally be the perfect read for a rainy day. It's about two sisters living in isolation after a family tragedy, and the tension in the story is so quietly haunting. Shirley Jackson's writing is sharp and precise, which makes it so engaging. It's such a weirdly cute book. I'm gonna read you a quote from the beginning of the book so you can understand what I mean by weirdly cute. My name is Mary Catherine Blackwood. I am 18 years old and I live with my sister Constance. I have often thought that with any luck at all, I could have been born a werewolf because the two middle fingers on both my hands are the same length, but I've had to be content with what I had. I dislike washing myself and dogs and noise. I like my sister Constance and Richard Plantagenet and Amanita Fallu. Those are, I don't know how to read those terms. The dead cup mushroom. Everyone else in our family is dead. You see what I mean, right? It's around 150 pages, and once you start reading, I think you'll be too intrigued to stop. And that's my slow readers list of book recommendations that you can read in a day. I hope you found something you like among these recommendations, and let me know in the comments if you have any recommendations to me for impactful short reads. I'm planning to turn this into a series, so maybe the next video can be something like Slow Reader recommends bingeable books. So don't forget to subscribe if you like this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!